And when we went to make those movies, and we had, I think it was a $101 million budget to do a miniseries in that period, was unheard of. And to work where we went to Florida, we worked in Pearl Harbor, we worked on these subjects that were just so big, and to do these period piece, and to work with Robert Mitchum, the legend, it was amazing. And, you know, Dan Curtis took this project and wrangled such a big thing. And this Herman Wouk novel, I mean, to bring that to life, it was extraordinary. It was fun, it was exciting, it was challenging. I mean, Barry Bostwick did a great job, Hart, Bachner, these guys I got to work with on the show, everybody really did their best. The costumers were amazing. They pulled in all these period costumes. Everybody just did a great job. It was wonderful.
Sharon Stone was finally entering the big league. After appearing in B films such as King Solomon's Mines, Alan Quatermain and the Lost City of Gold, and Above the Law, 1990 proved to be a game-changing year for Stone, as she landed a role in Paul Verhoeven's Total Recall. The pinnacle of Stone's acting career wasn't far away. So the big movie that came up right after that was Total Recall with Arnold Schwarzenegger. It went on to become our governor, of course. You still have muscles from that movie.
I trained so much for that movie, and I got in such unbelievable shape for that movie. I did karate, I did circuit training, I did weightlifting. I did everything because obviously I had this big fight scene with Arnold, and I couldn't look like, here am I, stick figure, fighting with Arnold. I had to look like I had some heft and like it was somehow believable. And you know, Arnold, I learned a lot from him. I learned how to do press, I learned how to be fit, I learned how to be prepared on set. He's a superb professional, and God, I learned a lot from him. Hef had said, why don't you do Playboy, honey? Why don't you do a thing? And I was like, oh. Come on. He's like, no, you should do that. And I was like, I can't be stupid. I can't do that. And then eventually I thought, you know what? It would be stupid not to.
You went on to do Playboy, you were voted one of the 25 sexiest stars by Playboy magazine. All these accolades start to come to you at this point. How are you handling that?
It's not exactly that you handle it. I mean, part of it is that it's a structure that you actually work for and that you create. It doesn't just sort of happen to you. No one thought that I was sexy because I'm sort of more of an academic. And I was more really square and more academically motivated, and I wasn't a sexy kind of girl. And I was friends with a woman, Marilyn Grabowski, who was the editor at Playboy magazine, who I liked very much. And I used to go to the Playboy Mansion to watch the fights because I liked boxing. And I thought, oh, but still, no one thought I was sexy. Even at the Playboy Mansion, they thought I was funny and smart, but not sexy. But I thought, but Hef had said, why don't you do Playboy, honey? Why don't you do a thing? And I was like, oh, come on. He's like, no, you should do that. And I was like, I can't be stupid. I can't do that. And then eventually I thought, you know what? It would be stupid not to. And I called Marilyn and I said, you know, I would do it, but you have to do the interview. I had seen these wonderful photographs that Man Ray had taken of his wife. And there was a particularly beautiful photo that he took of her at, I think it was like La Coupole, where they were sitting at a table and she was smoking a cigarette and she had taken her jacket and opened her jacket like that and showed him herself. And he'd taken a photo of her over a half-eaten food. And she was laughing like that. And I thought, oh, that's just so sexy. It's just so, it's a relationship and it's intimate and it really is, that really is sexy. So I sent that photograph to her. And I said, if we can do something like this, I would like to do it. So she called this photographer that we both knew named Philip Dixon. And she said, why don't you check into a hotel with Philip and do this shoot? And so Philip and I went into, it's called the Tower now, which was on Sunset Boulevard. And we did this Man Ray shoot. And it was really funny and intimate, black and white shoot. And Marilyn did the interview.
Then came the biggest movie you've ever done, big box office break, opposite Michael Douglas, playing Catherine Trammell in Basic Instinct.
You didn't feel anything for him, you just had sex with him for your book.
In the beginning. Then I got to like what he did for me.
You like playing games, don't you?
It's nice.
Now, when you read the script, did you right away knew, that's me, I'm Catherine Trammell?
Yes. My manager, who's been my manager all my life, now 26 years, I guess, Chuck Binder, broke into someone's office and stole the script. Because we had heard about it, but no one wanted to give it to me. So he actually took this script off someone's desk and he gave it to me. And he's like, I think you have to read this. And I read the script and I thought, oh my God, this is unbelievable. This is the greatest character I've ever read. And so they started offering it to stars who started turning it down. And I had to loop Total Recall. And they kept asking me to come in and loop it during the day. And I said, I just can't. But I could come in at like 6:30 on Tuesday or something, so that I could come in like a cocktail dress and the whole thing. So I came in sort of in character as Catherine Trammell, as I saw her. And I came in and I'm like, oh, I'm sorry, but I have to be at something after the looping. And I didn't say anything, but I just sort of appeared as Catherine Trammell and did the looping just coolly. And then as I was leaving, Paul Verhoeven walked me to my car and he said, I'm doing this other movie. And I was like, really? You are? He's like, yes, I am. And I would test you for it. But no one thinks that you have the talent or the ability to play the part. So Paul tested with me. And so then they kept testing people and kept offering it to stars. And Paul made this agreement with Michael that every time they tested someone, they would run my test, and that the person had to beat my test.
Oh.
And here we are.
Now, I mean, a movie like that made you into a huge star right off the bat. I mean, it sort of,
well,
you were an
that
actress at that
a year
point.
Of
and then
publicity.
It's incredible. Incredible in more ways than one. But I mean, at the end of the day, it was such a huge movie worldwide.
Yeah.
People magazine, 50 most beautiful people in the world. You were up there with the best of them. Now you're not just an actress, you're a true movie star.
Yeah.
What were you thinking at that point after Basic Instinct?
It's true, I'm fabulous, everyone loves me, at last I'm fabulous, thank God it's happened, oh, it's amazing, yay. you know, that thing that happens the first moment you become famous where you're like, oh, it's so great, it's so exciting, it's so wonderful, it's exhilarating, oh, it's yay, it's so great. And, you know, and then it doesn't stop and you're like, oh, hell. Oh, no. Really? It's not
This is
just
it?
for a minute? You know, at first it's so, well, like the first couple days you want to throw up. It's just like too much sugar. Then you get really excited. Then you get really scared.
But it's overwhelming.
Yeah, you're holding on to a rocket. You know, if you don't fall off and die, it's great, you know, but there is no landing on the moon. It just keeps orbiting. You know, the rocket doesn't land. You're on a rocket, you stay on the rocket, you never get off the rocket, you live in space. You don't go back and now you live back in your house on Earth. Your fame is a rocket ship that doesn't land. You know, that's it.
Incredible. And then, of course, right away on the Hollywood Walk of Fame.
Yes.
I mean, that is an incredible honor.
It was a very big honor, and it was a particularly, exceptionally special honor because they were widening the sidewalk the weeks that I got my star. So my star is, in fact, in front of Grauman's Chinese, next to Mickey Mouse, in front of the handprints, right there with the original movie stars of Hollywood. So my star happens to be in the place of the origination of the stars on the Hollywood Walk of Fame, in the place where one would imagine there would never be a star again. So what happened in my destiny was something that took me back to the stars of the original stars of the silver screen and took me to a place that seemed impossible to achieve.
And then back in the real world, you ended up winning a Golden Globe for the role of Ginger in the movie Casino
Yes.
with Robert De Niro,
Yes.
Scorsese at the helm.
Wonderful.
Can't get better than that.
No, no.
For Tangiers.
Your money a lot, yes, don't you? Well, how about that?
I want to settle down. I want a family.
You got the wrong girl.
Deep down inside, you think for you, even though I knew. Deep down inside.
I will go to the
You
police.
went on also to earn an Oscar nomination for that movie.
Yes.
Is that something that you were also sort of looking to achieve, these awards that were being given by Hollywood at the time?
You know, it's a lovely validation when your peers acknowledge your work. And when the foreign press acknowledged my work, that was very meaningful to me because the foreign press is a very literate group. You know, they see everything around the world, they read everything, they're such an educated group that when they acknowledge my work, I feel very validated. Marty, there isn't another director that I wanted to work with more or another actor that I wanted to work with more. You know, when I was working with my teacher early in my time with him, he's like, what is it that you want? What do you really want to get out of this? And I said, I want to be able to sit across the table from Robert De Niro and hold my own. That's it.
But you're working with all these top-notch directors, actors. The same year you did Sam Raimi's Quick and the Dead with Leo
Gene.
DiCaprio and Russell Crowe.
And the great Gene Hackman,
Gene
one of the
Hackman.
greatest actors of all times.
Is at that point you realized that I'm here with the best and this is where I always not just wanted to be, but this is where I belong? So were you working more and more on your craft at that point?
Yeah, and I was working to use my authority to be creative, to bring in real talent. We brought in Russell from Australia. I had seen him in a movie called Romper Stomper. And I was like, this is the guy. And they're like, this guy played a skinhead. What makes you think this is the guy? I'm like, he's the guy. He's the Richard Burton of our times. And they thought I was crazy about Leo because he'd done like one movie, but I saw such talent in them, and I used my authority that I had achieved by the success of Basic Instinct to insist on them. And I couldn't be more pleased and proud that I did, because what I saw in them was true.
Yes.
One of these nights, one of these people, one of you are going to leave the legacy of the end of AIDS. It could be tonight.
Do you think it's going to happen in our lifetime?
I do.
Sharon Stone used her celebrity status and influence to attach herself to social causes and AIDS awareness. She even co-hosted the Nobel Peace Prize concert in Oslo to honor Nobel Peace Prize winner Muhammad Yunus. Is it something you wanted to do after the movies that you were talking about